just for you and me. The dogwood was never to grow strong and tall again.
Hey, this is old Lonnie Jones again at episode 32, I believe we're in now, and I want to, of course, it's all about what God's done for me in my lifetime, and boy, he's had a chore. Let me tell you, I've kept him pretty busy. He may have elected a couple of y'all out there on account of me, I don't know. If he didn't, I didn't mean for it to happen, but you never know about that. But episode 31, I was telling you about my heart surgery. And back here behind me, I meant to bring it up a while ago. Back here behind me is a cruiser, cabin cruiser. It's a 40-foot cabin cruiser that we bought, my wife and I, Rita. We're going to talk a lot about Rita later on, but we ain't got to Rita yet. But just wanted to tell you about the boat in the back here. That's way on down the road as well. But this is a cabin cruiser, 40-foot cabin cruiser that we had on Old Hickory Lake that we bought down in Huntsville, Alabama, and brought up. And believe it or not, Rita and I become captains of boats, and she drove and I drove coming up all these rivers. I tell you, let me tell you, you're talking about a adventure. We have had an adventure, let me tell you. Wait till I get into Rita and I in the last 10, 11 years. It's been quite a wonderful, right? She's kept me alive, basically, you might say. But we'll talk about her later. But this is a cabin cruiser in front of it, coming up the Cumberland River, coming out off the Tennessee River, way down on the Gulf Coast, way down West Tennessee. And we heading up the Cumberland River, coming towards Nashville in our boat that we went to Huntsville, Alabama and bought. And it's a long ways around from Huntsville, Alabama, up the rivers getting to Nashville, Tennessee, and Old Hickory Lake. Let me tell you, it takes a while. And I'll tell you why we don't have the boat right now later on. But I'm not going to tell you why we don't have it on this episode. I want to talk to you again on this episode, which is episode 32, about another operation I had and how God stood in for me and helped me. And Lord knows he must love me or I wouldn't be here, couldn't be here, because I was telling you that I was not eating good and wasn't sleeping good, wasn't anything going really right. Now this is back sometime. This is back in the 90s. We're talking back in the 90s when this other operation. And the reason I'm telling you about these operations is because God is there in everything you do, and he has certainly pulled me through a lot of them. Now I've got another operation. I've got about 3 major operations I will tell you about. I just told you about the heart surgery, and I believe in one of my episodes I told you about the perforated ulcer in my stomach, but I never really mentioned about the insurance and how I managed to get that taken care of. And only God could have done this, because I didn't have the money to ever pay for it. But anyway, we'll back up to about the middle of the 90s, I guess, something like that. And I'll tell you that, again, things wasn't going just right, and I was worried about this and sick about that, and I was eating aspirin for a headache, which turned out that was quite another story as well. The headaches was another story. So I had this hole eat in my stomach and everything, and they carried me to Southern Hills Hospital. And anybody that's never been to Southern Hills Hospital, it's a beautiful, wonderful, great hospital. Southern Hills, just because it doesn't say Vanderbilt, or it doesn't say Skyline, or it doesn't say Summit, or it doesn't say Centennial. Trust me, I'm going to tell you 2 stories about Southern Hills. That my life has been saved twice in Southern Hills. Twice. Not once, but twice. Southern Hills didn't used to be a very big hospital. very small hospital. But back when I had my stomach trouble, I was playing music and this, I felt it when it eat a hole into my stomach. Well, they rushed me to the hospital, and it was one of the worst hurts I'd ever had in my life, if not the, at the time. Now, I've had one since then, hurt worse than that. I'm going to tell you about it too. But right now, I'm going to tell you about the perforated ulcer and them carrying me to Southern Hills into the emergency room. Them not knowing, me not knowing, nobody knowing what's wrong with me. All I know is it's killing me, and I'm a screaming and a holler. And I'm a hurter. And I'm a pretty tough guy, and I try not to holler. I try not to do all those things. But sometimes I don't care who you are. If you've never seen a grown man cry, then you've not lived. Because a grown man can cry, and they will cry. I'm laying in the hospital emergency room, and it's killing me, and I'm hollering and moaning and groaning, and they're paying absolutely no attention to me whatever. Well, finally, I have no idea when I passed out. I guess when I passed out and quit moaning and groaning, they figured it was time to do something about it. Well, the next thing I remember, from the time they laid me on that hospital, in the emergency room, till I passed out, the next time when I woke up, I was two guys, one on each side, holding me up in X-ray. And I come to, and then I passed out, and the last thing I remember them saying is, "Man down in X-ray." And that's the last thing I remember hearing till I woke up the next day with all this stuff run down my throat and up my nose and a gash down the middle of my stomach. And now, the reason I'm telling you this is why God's with me. God looked after me, and for whatever reason He likes me, I'm not sure. But He made sure I survived that. And somewhere, I guess, down the line, I obviously deserved the pain, because I think the pain comes along with getting well and feeling good and all that stuff. So I don't understand all about the pain, but there was plenty of pain there. And 3 weeks prior to that happening, my ex-wife, which at the time we weren't married, we hadn't gotten a divorce, but my ex-wife prior to that had signed me up for 10 care. And it had just gone into effect. I had no insurance that I knew of whatsoever. But before we finished up getting to the insurance, before they carry me down, or before they operate on me, they make me sign a piece of paper, and I don't even have a clue to what I'm signing. I'm hurting so bad. And I looked at one of them the best I could and remembered, I said, "Y'all gonna let me lay here and die over signing a piece of paper?" They said, "Just make a mark." That was the last I remember till I woke up the next day with those tubes sticking all out of me. And so God kept me alive through all that mess. And there had to be neglect in the hospital. And I'm not blaming the hospital, because they pulled me out of there alive and well. The hospital was fine. There was just some neglect there. When I first got there, I feel like going into the emergency room and nobody looking after me. They let me lay there until I passed out before they carried me anywhere and done anything with me. I feel like that was neglect on the people's part, not the hospital's part. But that's neither here nor there. God looked after me all the way through that. And so I was in that hospital out there, and what took care of that was 10 care took care of that. It never cost me one penny. TennCare paid that bill, and who knows, I don't have a clue to how much it was. But it had just been into effect 3 weeks when that happened to me. And it was a miracle that God was looking after me during all this time. So I get to come out of there, and I go, first place I go to is my sisters again. So my sister, she at that time, she lived out at on Tulip Grove Road in Mount Juliet at the time. So I went out there and spent a week with her out there over that deal. And some of you people that's going to be seeing this right here knows who John Hager was. John Hager lived out that direction, and he came over, found out about that, and came over to my sister's, and he and I sat out in the front yard and played music during the time I was recovering. He was a great fiddle player. He left us a couple of years ago. John Hager, everybody that's in the sound of my voice almost knows John Hager that's ever been around in the music at all. But John Hager was a dear, dear friend. And he would come out and visit me a couple of times that week while I was out there. But that was one of the things that I wanted to double back and tell you about God looking after me. He looked after me through all of my pain, all the hurt I was going through, and he paid my bill. He paid my bill because somewhere he had me, how my ex-wife signed me up to TennCare because I had no insurance at the time. I was self-employed, and I was in between. I don't remember exactly what I was in between, but I was in between working here or there and didn't have the insurance at any rate. I didn't have the insurance. So God knew in advance I was going to need this insurance, and don't tell me just out of the blue I thought I was going to sign up for insurance. It was planted. Those things are planted, and God looks after things like that. So that's one thing I wanted to tell you about that operation that most people don't know anything about. But that was back in the mid-90s when I had that operation. And of course, we went on through Huntsville, Alabama, me working down there, coming back to Nashville, Tennessee. Larry's Grand Ole Garage started. I'm downtown now. I'm back now up to my heart surgery, and I'm back at Larry's Grand Ole Garage in Madison, Tennessee. And I'm back trying to get Larry's Grand Ole Garage up and going again. So I'm over here doing the things I always did after my heart trouble and everything. Good Lord seen me through all of that. And at that time, when I first started this place, you couldn't get in the driveway. They were parked a block away trying to get in down here. You couldn't get them all in. So what I did at that point, that's where I started building on a big building outside for an outside venue, which would hold about 250 people. And a lot of you that's watching me right now or watching this understands and knows what building I'm talking about. We had a big outdoor venue that I built. And I'm talking, when I say I built it, I put up everything at Larry's Grand Ole Garage. 90% of everything I've done, I put up here. Now, when I first started with Larry's Grand Ole Garage, I had 3 people that was helping me from my church when I was going to Church of Christ there in Goodlettsville Church of Christ. There was 3 guys that loved country music and bluegrass music, and they would help me. They actually helped me add on to the end of it out here where the garage door was at to help me add that on there. So in the beginning, I had some help, but 99% of everything that was done at Larry's Grand Ole Garage, when you pull in this driveway, I screwed the screw in it. I hung the plywood. I did it, and every now and then I would hire a guy to help me with some heavy stuff or whatever. And the guys from the Church of Christ that would help me. And Jim Scott was one of them. Jim Scott was a dear friend. He would come over and help me. And there was a gentleman by the name of Woosley. I'm not too sure what his first name was, but his name was Woosley. He helped me a lot. And then there was, I can't think these people right off the top of my head, but eventually I will. But anyway, so I had some help, but not a lot of help. So I'm working now. Gary Adams is working inside Larry's Grand Ole Garage over here, over where the bus stalls are out, where he worked on the buses. But there wasn't no buses in there. Larry had done passed away at this time we're talking about. And Gary Adams was still working for me over here in my plastic shop. And so Gary was working for me, still doing the plastic, because I had done gone downtown and worked down there, and I'm already up here, and I'm retired now, and I'm back, and Gary's gone, and I'm back here running Larry's Grand Ole Garage, trying to keep everything together. So I started building this outside building. I built a stage going to the end of the outside building, and 70% of the people that's watching this in the beginning knows what it was, what it looked like, and the outdoor building is still there. I'm just using it for storage now. But I built that. I had, what I did was I had a carport company come in and put up a building 60 foot long, 30 foot wide, and put a roof on it. And then I designed some wings on the side of it where I could put like canvas on it that would roll up, and you'd be like sitting, it'd be like you sitting there looking outside. Or if it rained, I could just roll the canvas down, and the wind and the rain wouldn't blow in. So I had a beautiful outdoor venue. Again, it seated about 250 people. You could seat and stand 300 in it. And we've had it totally packed many, many times. And now God's helping me do all this stuff, because I'm on my own over here doing all this stuff pretty much myself. Pretty much doing everything myself. And so I'm building all this stuff and making Larry's Grand Ole Garage grow. Meanwhile, we're having these fish fries. We've had fish fries here, and I've had 3 people cooking fish, and we've had so many people come through here in a day's time, back in, let's just say, I would say this was around 2000, I'd say 2003 and 4 and 5, along in that area. I had such a fish right here one time, so many people came through, which I sold every piece of fish that I had, and sent 2 guys up to Captain D's and bought all the fish that they would let me have 3 times the same day. 3 times this all happened. There used to be hundreds of people come in over here at Larry's Grand Ole Garage. Now back in those days, we were all in our 60s, some in their 50s. But we was in our 60s, and we had people coming here in their 70s. Now, at Larry's Grand Ole Garage down here, what we've got now, at Larry's Grand Ole Garage now, we've got a wall that we have the people, pictures on here that come to Larry's Grand Ole Garage on a regular basis, and we put their pictures up that they have where they have passed away. We put their pictures up there. So we have a wall showing all the people that we could get pictures of and put them on that wall to show all the people that used to come here. Then it got so big, then we even moved it way out into a field. We bought, actually, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. This is before I actually met Rita. So we got to tell some stuff before I ever get to Rita again yet. But at any rate, I'm building these buildings here, and we're getting these big crowds, and we're having these bluegrass festivals. I've had Cherry Holmes here. I've had Doyle Lawson Quicksilver. Now that's at another location. I had a stage that I put in front of this big building out here the outdoor venue. There was a big stage went right at the end of it, had 3 wheels on it, and it was 30 foot long and 12 foot wide. So before we would have we had the Chamber of Commerce involved back then, and we were selling ads, and we had a big bluegrass festival up at the Chamber of Commerce up in Madison, and I carried my stage up there, and that's when Doyle Lawson Quicksilver and Third Time Out, Lonesome River Band, Country Gentlemen, all those people has been on that stage. We had, I believe, a total of 3 festivals up there, and we had all those named people on there. Now, the last big festival we had here, we had, I can't even think of what his name is. We had Larry Sparks, yeah. Our last big festival we had here, we had moved it way out into a field where we saw it was going to rain on us. We had to bring all the people back and put them under this big pavilion outdoor venue that we had back down near the house. But Larry Sparks was the last big name band that has been here. But Cherry Holmes, all the people that know Cherry Holmes know that they were a great big band as well. But anyway, after all these 2 surgeries I've had, I've come around to where now we are, got the outdoor venue and everything, and we're looking at around 2000. Like I was saying before, we're looking at 2004, 2005. Well, we also started out with Larry's Grand Ole Garage indoor venue. We started out with that. So I'm going to leave you here in a minute with that, because Larry's Grand Ole Garage indoor venue is still going on, and a lot of people within the sound of my voice, or people that come here even now, knows that it's still going on every Saturday night. We still have that. But I went through where God has helped me with 2 operations. Well, He's going to help me in another one, but it probably won't be until next episode will be episode 33. It'll probably be 34 before we get to where God helped me in another, probably as important, if not more dangerous than the heart surgery. It was probably more, I would say, more dangerous than the heart surgery. And I'll tell you how God stood through thick and thin with me at that as well. But right now, I'm going to remind you, don't forget the 101 Flat Ridge Road in Goodlettsville, Tennessee is our Missionary Baptist Church. And we want you to come there at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. We have a great church, beautiful church, and we'd like to have you come there. So I'm going to break off from number 32 right here, and we're going to do you a couple of numbers, and I'll catch you on 33, and I'm going to tell you, might get to tell you a little bit about 33, about but I don't think I'm going to get to my next operation. Y'all think I'll stay sick and something wrong with me all the time. That is absolutely not true at all. It's just in 79 years, I've had something wrong from time to time. These are the major things that I'm telling you about. I'll get to around telling you about falling out of a tree and breaking my foot and all that stuff. That's nothing compared to the 2 I've already told you about, or the one that I'm going to tell you about in chapter 30, or maybe in 33. So right now we're going to do you a couple songs, and don't forget to come see us at 101 Flat Ridge Road in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, with Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. We'd sure like to have you there Sunday morning at 11 o'clock if it's all possible. And we're going to do you a couple of numbers now, and then I'll see you in chapter 33, I do believe. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You like to hang right there. Big sandy river, right? Call a truck driving man. I stopped down at Roadhouse in Texas, a little place called Hamburger Dan. I heard that old jukebox a playing that song on the truck driving man. It pour me another good coffee, pouring is the best in the land. Then I'll put a nickel in the jukebox and play that truck driving man. I thanked her and called her back again. She said that old song just fit me, 'cause I'm a truck driving man. Pour me another good coffee, for it is the best in the land. I'll put a nickel in the jukebox and play that truck driving man. Back aboard my old semi, and then like a flash I was gone. I got them old truck wheels rolling, I'm on my way to San Antonio. Oh, pour me another cup of coffee, for it is the best in the land. I'll put a nickel in the jukebox and play that truck driving man, and play that truck driving man. Woo! Said how long it's been since you put a nickel in a jukebox? Been a while, ain't it, son?
Jesus died on the cross from a dogwood tree. He gave his life and soul just for you and me. The dogwood was never to grow strong.